Today we're joined by Antonio Garrido, one of my favorite Sandler trainers from Miami, Florida. Hey, Antonio, so we can learn a little bit more about you. What is your favorite superpower?
If I had to choose, I'm going to say Soviet Russia, 1974.
Okay. What's your second favorite superpower?
Okay, then. Asking great questions.
Antonio, you've written one of my all-time favorite Sandler training books. It's Asking Questions the Sandler Way. And you have a new one that just came out not too long ago, 21st Century Ride-Along, which came out at a very interesting time. How does the ride-along factor in now and in the future from a sales and management perspective?
I think it's interesting because about 15 minutes after the book came out, the world went on global pandemic lockdown. And I thought, is this the best thing that's happened for my book or the worst thing that could possibly happen for my book? And when I first thought about it, I thought, crikey, we're not going to be having lots of ride-alongs, right? Field accompaniments where the manager's going out with the individual around their sales territory. But then I thought, no, there's actually more time for it now. One of my biggest clients, just about the lockdown time, they received an email from head office, from headquarters, saying travel bans everywhere. No one was allowed to travel. Everybody had to stay at home. About 15 minutes later, he sent a note out to all of his staff, and we're talking hundreds of people. And he said, so head office said travel bans. It took him about 15 minutes to send a note out to all of his division saying, this is the best thing that's happened to us, guys. Because all of that time that we were planning travel and booking flights and then driving to the airport and then waiting for the aeroplane and then landing, flying there, obviously, and then landing and then getting a rental car and then driving to see the client. And remember, all of that happens in reverse as well, because ultimately you go home. All of that time now is all of that unproductive time can now be used in a very productive way. So he said, so what I want to see is lots more role players and lots more ride-alongs. And he wrote that within about 15 minutes. And I thought, it's the best time for my book. So if it wasn't for that, I was panicking for a little while. And it's only early days, of course, and nobody wants to take advantage of a terrible situation, but it seems to be selling rather well. And maybe because ride-alongs, just because they have to be virtual, doesn't mean that they shouldn't happen. In fact, they should happen in more density, I would say.
Yeah, and so as someone who spent much of my sales career in medical device sales, which was all about ride-along and out there in the territory with my managers and directors, what is the behavior aspect of the 21st century ride-along now and in the future to come?
Well, if it's okay with you, can I kind of take it out of the business world, sales world, leadership world? Because I've been finding a lot of people purchasing the book that are outside that environment. So people that are in that environment are buying it. People that aren't are also buying it. And it occurred to me, it's a bit like a head coach of a football team. Footy team, I would call soccer team, right? But football, soccer, hockey, baseball, basketball, any team you can think of that has a head coach, and of course they all do. And if you could imagine a new head coach was talking to the owner of the team, and the owner of the team says, hey, welcome aboard. We'll see you at the game on Saturday. And then can you imagine such a thing where the head coach says, do you know, that's not the kind of manager I am. I don't think you have to do that. I'll read all about the game in the sports pages tomorrow, right? The day after. I don't really like going to the games. How long do you think he would survive? Or if he said, I don't really do a pre-call, a pre-game pep talk, and I don't give them a playbook. And I don't tend to talk to them at halftime or at the timeouts. And I tend not to try and review it at the end of the game. How long do you think it'd last? Or if he said, training, is that really that important? I guess they could go, but I think I'm gonna stay at home, right? So how long would he last? My point being that a head coach of any sports team are very involved in the training, in the development, and in the actual game, and the way that they know how each individual team member needs to work and develop and improve is they have to see what they do for real, for live, not just reading about it in a report. I think the ride along is the most important thing for a manager, a leader of a company or an owner of a company, to know what their people are doing. I mean, role plays are one thing. I get that. And they're terribly important, which is like being on the training pitch, right? On the training field. That's what a role play is, like the training field. But there is nothing as good as knowing what your team are doing as watching the game, watching every second of the game and making your notes and reviewing them. And that's what the ride-alongs for. The mistake that a lot of managers make is they think the ride-along is for the manager. They think that the ride-along is the opportunity for the manager to go along and talk and show the sales guy how to do it, which is a bit like the football coach. Every time the quarterback gets the ball at the snap, saying, hold on a minute, let me show you how it's done, right? And then throwing the ball for them. So there's a lot of analogies between what the head coach of a football or soccer or baseball team does and what a sales manager does and what they should do. And the book explains all of that. There is no need for a ride along to happen to be in the car for a day or two out in the field. You can do them virtually. You can do them now more than you've ever done.
The behavior is literally doing it, making it part of a manager's managerial cookbook.
Yeah.
And then the attitude it's almost like the idea of, and I have a client who says to his team, hey, I may let you struggle, I'll never let you drown. And that's the attitude that it's okay for me not to rescue my salesperson out in the field. Like to your point about the analogy with the quarterback, let your team member go out there and execute and be there as a coach, but not someone who's going to jump in and rescue them at the first sign of them maybe not having the best call.
We have another book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike. It's a seminar, right? That's one of our seminal books. I've got 4 kids, and maybe lots of people listening also have children. And we've taught them how to ride a bike, right? So, which you can't do at a seminar. But the absolute best way to learn how to not fall off a bike is to fall off a bike. Because once you've fallen off the bike, you quickly figure out what to do to avoid that happening, right? And so what poor sales managers and leaders and what poor coaches do is they see their people struggling and they dive in and they try and rescue them, right? And so if you can think about Cartman's drama triangle, we have rescuer, victim, and persecutor. All of those 3 areas are at play if it's not well managed during a ride along. And we talk about all of those in the book. So yeah, it's very tricky. It takes an awful lot of self-control as a manager to watch your people struggle and sit there and still observe and then review it afterwards, because that's how they know, that's how they learn how to not fall off the bike, by falling off and skinning their knees a couple of times. It's the best way. It's the fastest way.
Yeah, absolutely. Antonio, the behavior and attitude, that's amazing. So technique-wise, if you're going to give one technique suggestion to managers and owners out there, what would it be?
Instead of giving one positive, can I give you 2 negatives? Because 2 negatives make a positive, right? So never, ever, ever have a field accompaniment without a pre-call plan. And never, ever, ever have a field accompaniment without a post-call review. So pre-call plan, post-call reviews are absolutely critical. So never do them without those things.
Antonio, that's amazing. As always, I love our conversations. Thank you for joining us. Sandler Worldwide Shoutouts. We are reaching out to Sandler rock stars around the network, best-selling authors around the network, getting their best practices, their behaviors, their attitudes, and their techniques. I hope you guys watching learn something. Get out there, have a great day, and happy selling.